All right, so you just wrapped the latest solo leveling episode on Crunchyroll. Cool, cool. Breathe easy. No spoilers here. Well, unless you've got zero idea who wins this throwdown. But come on, you do, right? Yeah, that fight. Jin-Woo versus the Ant King. The battle that had everybody's jaw doing a backflip. But here's the thing, what if I told you the manhwa version? It slaps even harder. Sure, the anime flexed with crazy visuals, bone-rattling music, and that high-octane drama. But the manhwa? Oh, it gave us the real sauce. The inner monologues, the I've made a huge mistake vibes, stuff the anime left on the cutting room floor. So let's walk through what really went down, what was going through the Ant King's head when Jin-Woo pulled up like a walking game-breaking glitch. Why did they leave out some of the coldest moments? If you're feeling this kind of breakdown, manhwa versus anime, frame by frame, go ahead and tap, like, drop a comment, and hit that follow for karmic.con. This is just a little experiment I cooked up, but if y'all vibe with it, trust me, we're just getting started. Now grab a snack, buckle up, and let's dive into the chaos. The scene opens in the thick of despair. A cameraman, paralyzed by fear and horror, collapses to his knees, staring into the jaws of death. In that moment, regret swallows him whole. The only thought echoing in his mind is how meaningless his last words to his father were. Just a casual, "Did you eat dinner?" Nothing profound, nothing lasting. He wishes he'd said more, meant more, but time has run out. Ahead, the monstrous mandibles of a magic beast descend toward his skull. With no weapon, no defense, no chance of survival, he lowers his head. Despair pours into him, tears brimming as he braces for the inevitable. Then, crack, a loud, jarring snap breaks the silence, and fluid splashes across his face. He flinches in shock. When he dares to look up, he sees it, a gleaming blade impaled through the ant's skull. He follows the blade upward, and there stands a mysterious figure, cloaked in black armor, pulling his sword free from the carcass without a word. It was as if death itself had changed sides. Far from the battlefield, in the bustling control room of the TV station, the energy turns on a dime. What had felt like a high-stakes celebration moments ago now feels like a wake. Earlier, everything had been going smoothly. Viewers were glued to their screens, watching the raid unfold. That is, until the winged ant appeared, its presence horrifying, its form unlike anything they'd seen. Then came the worst decision of the night, to cut the broadcast. Phones rang off the hook. Complaints poured in. Audiences, gripped by suspense, were furious. They had been watching as hunters were massacred, and now the feed had gone black. The system couldn't handle the volume. Staff panicked. A trembling employee approached the executive director. "The phones won't stop ringing. We've got nothing to tell them." But what could they do? They couldn't broadcast footage of hunters being torn apart. The brutal truth wasn't fit for air. Morally, legally, they were stuck. Then movement on the feed. A new figure had entered the scene. The mood in the control room snapped from panic to electric anticipation. Everyone leaned forward. Whoever this was, he wasn't just another hunter. Despite the risk, the order was given. Go. There was no turning back. Their broadcast, and maybe their network's future, now rested on this stranger in black armor. On Jeju Island, Jin-Woo had arrived. Using his shadow exchange skill, he had warped straight into the heart of the battle, and he didn't come alone. Beside him marched a small army of shadows, his most trusted lieutenants. Iron, the towering brute clad in heavy armor. Igris, the elegant but deadly knight. Tusk, a powerful sorcerer whose gaze alone promised destruction. And Tank, the monstrous beast hulking and ready for carnage. A legion of shadow soldiers followed behind them, eyes forward, weapons drawn. They needed no instructions, only Jin-Woo's will. Standing calmly amidst the chaos, Jin-Woo surveyed the battlefield with the focus of a seasoned general. He turned toward Iron, who stood to his side. Without a word, Iron thumped his chest in silent acknowledgement, ready for his task. The giant shadow strode forward with purpose. He inhaled deeply and unleashed a deafening roar that echoed across the island. It was the shout of provocation. Its effect was immediate. Every ant within hearing range whipped around, instincts kicking in. They had a new target, and they charged. Jin-Woo, pleased, placed a hand on Iron's shoulder in acknowledgement. That had done the trick. Now, with the ants fully distracted, Jin-Woo summoned his dual daggers, relics gained after his battle with the demon monarch. As the ant horde descended like a wave of black and red, Jin-Woo didn't move, not until the last second. Then he vanished. In a blur, he reappeared within the mass, cutting through enemies like a storm of blades. In a single motion, he tore through several ants, leaving behind a trail of blood and broken shells. His movement was so fast, he might as well have disappeared between each strike. Elsewhere in the chaos, Tusk stood vigilant over the fallen members of the strike squad. His mission wasn't to attack, but to protect. His massive form stood like a magical fortress over the injured, shielding them as the battle raged. The surviving hunters, still shaken from the earlier assault, could do nothing but stare in disbelief. Where death had seemed inevitable, now shadows fought in their place. Jin-Woo darted through the enemy lines like a phantom, slicing one ant clean in half. Behind him, his shadow soldiers unleashed carnage of their own. Igris slammed an ant to the ground with his bare hand before cleaving three more with one sweep of his blade. Precision, power, no mercy. Tank barreled into the fray, jaws snapping and claws tearing through like it was paper. Iron, as usual, made no attempt at grace. He simply crushed every ant underfoot, each stomp pounding into the earth like thunder. The swarm couldn't stop them. The battlefield trembled under the weight of the Shadow Monarch's forces. And Jin-Woo? He smiled. He could feel the moment. The momentum had shifted. The end of this fight was close. With a voice like a final judgment, he spoke one word: arise. Black hands erupted from the ground. Deep groans echoed from the earth. The shadows began to stir. The fallen ants twitched and rose. The cameraman, still shaken and barely processing what he's just seen, feels the chill of something unnatural sweep through him. His hands tremble. His breath shortens. His mind can't keep up, because now before his eyes, the ants that had just been slain are rising again, but not as they once were. They are different. Dark smoke leaks from their bodies. Their eyes no longer gleam with life, but with a ghostly light. These aren't ants anymore. They're shadows, eerie, lifeless puppets of war, and they move with purpose. They charge forward into the still living swarm, fighting with a kind of fury that transcends death. What was once an unstoppable horde is now being drowned by something darker, something born from the grave itself. But Jin-Woo doesn't stop there. His priority shifts. Some of the hunters are still wounded. They need help. Fast. He rushes to them and summons healing potions, magical brews that can knit flesh and bone back together. The catch? They only work if he feeds them directly. One by one, he holds the potions to their lips. Taegyu gasps, feeling strength rush back into his body. Jongyun's wounds close before his eyes. Dongwook stares at his hands in disbelief. Even Yunho, hardened and skeptical, can't believe what just happened. But one remains unchanged. Cha-Hai-In lies motionless, unconscious. Jin-Woo kneels beside her, his expression hardening. He knows her wounds are beyond what his abilities can fix. She's fading fast. They have to leave. Now, but then he stops. A ripple of energy brushes past his senses. Something is coming. He turns his head and sees him. The Ant King has returned. Each step the creature takes resonates through the cavern. It's more than sound, it's pressure, weight, dread. The air itself recoils as the beast walks forward, calm and menacing. But then it speaks, and not in clicks or screeches. It speaks in the voice of Goto Ryuji, chilling, unnatural. The realization spreads across the strike team like wildfire. If he's using Goto's voice, it means Goto is dead, eaten, absorbed. Dongwook curses under his breath. Baek's eyes narrow with dread. Jin-Woo stands, gaze unwavering. He's already putting it together. Goto's shadow had vanished. Now he knows why. The Ant King is staring straight at him as if trying to measure something, trying to see if this man in black could be a king, too. Jin-Woo doesn't blink. He's not intimidated. In fact, he's mildly surprised. This creature can talk. Then the Ant King leans in and roars, a bone-rattling, echoing howl that shakes the very walls of the cave. But Jin-Woo, he doesn't even move. A smirk curls across his lips. That roar, just noise. Empty intimidation from something trying too hard to seem terrifying. Above ground, the world is still catching up. The broadcast had ended abruptly, leaving viewers in a spiral of panic and speculation. What happened to the hunters? Why did the footage cut? Was everyone gone? Song Chi-yeol feels dread settle in his gut. Juhi can't stop replaying the last thing she saw on screen. Ki-hoon paces. Onati demands answers. The networks scramble. Then, breaking news. A new hunter has appeared on the scene. The live feed comes back on, and what it shows, the Ant King, alive, towering, dominating. Back in Japan, Matsumoto and Sugimoto are locked in disbelief. Sugimoto confirms the Ant King is back in the Queen's chamber, and something strange is happening. New mana signals, Korean ones. That can only mean one thing. The hunters are still alive. Matsumoto demands they switch the feed to the South Korean broadcast. He needs to see. Meanwhile, at home, Gina's nerves are fraying. Her mom's fiddling with the broken TV, and she can't take the silence anymore. She bolts to her room, pulls out her phone, opens the live stream, and freezes. There he is, her brother, in the middle of it all. Back at the Hunter Association, Go Gun-hee sits like a statue. His grip tightens on the armrest. All around him, chaos buzzes, but he hears nothing but the hum of tension in the air. Jin-Woo has arrived, and now everything is about to change. The Ant King lunges forward, swinging with bone-crushing force. His fist lands squarely on Jin-Woo's face. The impact is so heavy it sends shockwaves through the cavern. The floor shatters, cracks split in every direction. Rock and dust fly. It's a hit that should end most fights. But Jin-Woo doesn't fall. He spits blood, resets his stance, and glares straight ahead. That one's free. And then he moves. With Commander's touch, his left fist slams into the Ant King's abdomen like a steel piston, crushing everything in its path. The monster reels back, but Jin-Woo isn't done. He steps forward and delivers a right hook so brutal, it sends the Ant King flying into the wall. The cavern booms with the impact, chunks of stone breaking loose as the monster crashes through it. Everyone watching, from Taegyu to the stunned cameraman, can only stare. A mage doing that? This isn't a regular S rank. This is something else entirely. The Ant King crashes into the wall and roars back to his feet, furious. Dust clings to his body. His blazing red eyes lock onto Jin-Woo with a mix of fury and disbelief. He lunges again, this time with both fists. A double-handed blow that could crush most hunters, but Jin-Woo doesn't budge. He raises his arms and blocks it clean, not even a step back. Then suddenly they're in close quarters. Elbows, claws, fists, mana surges with every strike. Jin-Woo's blue aura dances in rhythm with the Ant King's searing red fury. Each hit shatters stone, kicks up debris, and sends tremors through the ground. Even the cameraman struggles to keep his feet. The air is too dense with mana, too heavy. But Jin-Woo keeps pushing. Each of his strikes is faster, more calculated. He sees the cracks forming in the Ant King's armor, hairline fractures webbing outward with each exchange. The Ant King feels it too. Panic sets in. He changes tactics. From his open mouth, a tentacle lashes forward, its tip a venomous needle. It's aimed straight for Jin-Woo's face. An instant kill shot. Jin-Woo jerks his head just in time, but not enough. The tip grazes his cheek. Blood appears, and with it, poison. The Ant King's lips curl. This wasn't ordinary venom. It was paralysis poison, acquired from devouring a cone snail, and now enhanced by mana. No creature could survive it. Jin-Woo doesn't flinch. The Ant King surges forward, mandibles wide, ready to end it, and then a single hand rises. Jin-Woo catches the Ant King's charge mid-strike, stops it completely. The Ant King freezes, eyes wide in disbelief. Then, boom! Jin-Woo's right fist crashes into his chest, sending the monster skidding across the dirt in a cloud of dust and debris. The Ant King groans, stunned. Jin-Woo straightens and breathes once. A notification flashes, detoxification complete. Of course, the poison failed. Jin-Woo's sense stat had already warned him. He'd felt the Ant King's satisfaction and then its fear. Jin-Woo's expression hardens. This ends now. He leaps into the air, daggers flashing. He lands, but the Ant King is gone. The others look around, confused, but Jin-Woo's eyes are already following the mana trail upward. The Ant King has taken to the sky, wings spread wide, buzzing like thunder. He's flying fast, high, and with a new plan. If strength didn't work, if poison failed, then speed would be his answer. He contracts his body, reshaping himself into a lean, bladed form. His limbs stretch like sharpened spears. His movements tighten, focused. Jin-Woo narrows his gaze and then pulls out his daggers. Game on. The Ant King dives like a missile, but Jin-Woo is already moving. The two blur across the battlefield. Claw clashes with steel. Speed meets speed. They disappear and reappear in flashes. Sparks fly. The cavern rings with each collision. But something changes and the Ant King is faltering. Jin-Woo's timing is perfect. His counters are faster, his reactions sharper. With every moment he adapts. It's not just that he's fast. He's learning. The Ant King throws a wide slash. Too late. Jin-Woo ducks and carves deep into his side. Another cut across the leg, one through the arm. The Ant King stumbles, and now Jin-Woo moves in. He activates critical strike. The first blow lands, then another, each one hitting deeper, sharper, more destructive. The Ant King screams, stumbling, overwhelmed. Then comes the system notification, skill upgraded, critical strike, mutilate. Jin-Woo's daggers now move with vicious precision. And the Ant King, he's running out of time. The Ant King roars, loud, desperate, and furious. It's not a war cry anymore. It's a call for reinforcements. And from every shadow, they come. The swarm. Thousands of ants answer the king's scream, flooding the cavern like a living tidal wave. Their screeches echo off the walls, a chorus of death rushing in to drown Jin-Woo and his army. The Ant King rises, battered but proud, convinced his numbers will win the day. But Jin-Woo, he just grins. Let's end this. He gives the command and the shadows charge. Still empowered by the monarch's domain, Jin-Woo's soldiers move like a tidal force of their own. Igris is first to meet the swarm, slicing through dozens with each elegant swing of his blade. Tank barrels into the mass, snapping jaws and crushing bodies underfoot. Iron stomps forward like a living tank, smashing ants into the stone. Even the orc warriors join in, brutal, ruthless, slashing their way through with raw fury. It's chaos. It's war. But the shadows are winning. And Jin-Woo? He hasn't even called his final piece. He raises his hand and summons Tusk. The mage appears towering and calm, his staff humming with power. Jin-Woo hands him the Orb of Avarice and speaks only once. Only the ants. Tusk nods in understanding, and then he grows, his body swelling with power, his magic surging. He lifts his staff and casts Hymn of the Fire Dragon. Pillars of fire erupt from the ground. The air ignites. The battlefield becomes an inferno. Ants scream, burn, vanish in flame. Taegu, watching from the sidelines, gasps. "What is that?" Dongwook steps back, his voice low. "That's not a summon, that's a demon." Even the Ant King pauses, his confidence shattering as he watches his army, his legacy, reduced to cinders. He panics. He's done. The only thing left now is escape. His wings flare to life. The severed one had already regrown. Thanks to a stolen healing ability, he rockets into the air, desperate to flee. But Jin-Woo's eyes are already on him. This creature, it consumed a human. It adapted, learned to heal. A true predator. But not enough. Jin-Woo activates Commander's Touch. The Ant King slams into the ground with bone-breaking force, dust and blood exploding from the impact. He writhes, crawls, tries to flee, but Jin-Woo is already walking toward him, calm, cold, unforgiving. The Ant King lifts his head, his eyes no longer burning with rage, but with fear, and for the first time, he knows what it feels like to be hunted. Jin-Woo draws his daggers and unleashes Mutilate. He flashes forward, spinning in a flurry of strikes so fast they blur into arcs of blue light. The Ant King tries to retreat, but it's too late. Jin-Woo carves through his exoskeleton like paper. One arm is severed, then another. Strike after strike. The king shrieks, body convulsing, and finally, silence. A single system message appears. You have defeated the enemy. Level up. But Jin-Woo barely registers it because Beck is already calling out to him. His voice is low, strained. Hunter Cha is... He doesn't finish. Jin-Woo knows. Her life force is fading. His eyes narrow. Time is running out. He's got seconds, maybe less. He can't let it end like this. Jin-Woo stands still for a moment, just a moment, as the battle around him fades into silence. The Ant King lies in a broken heap behind him. The swarm has been reduced to ash and shadows, but Jin-Woo's eyes aren't on the battlefield anymore. They're on her, Cha Hai-In, still unconscious, still dying. He dashes across the cavern to her side, drops to his knees. His hands hover over her wounds. Too deep, too many. Beyond his healing potions and his abilities, they're not enough. He checks the cooldown on Shadow Exchange. Still locked. Seconds ticking down like eternity. Could he even carry her through it? He hasn't tested that, and right now he can't afford a gamble. Another option? Flying. He thinks of Kaisel, his winged summon. But in her condition, the flight would kill her before they got halfway. His thoughts race. What about the Blade Guild? Were any healers left alive? Anyone still conscious? He doesn't know. Panic, something rare for Jin-Woo, flickers in his chest. Then, an idea. A risky one. He looks up and spots the cameraman still filming. Without hesitation, Jin-Woo strides toward him, his voice sharp and low. Turn it off. The cameraman freezes. What? Jin-Woo's eyes narrow. I said turn off the camera. Now. He doesn't yell, but the tone says everything. Hesitate. And the camera's going to meet the floor. Fast. The cameraman scrambles. The red light dies. The feed cuts. The world watching from home is suddenly thrown into silence. And in that silence, Jin-Woo acts. And just like that, we're at the edge of the cliff. What did Jin-Woo do after the feed cut? Can Cha Hai-in still be saved? And what secrets are still left beneath Jeju Island? You already know I've got the full breakdown ready. So if you want to see what comes next, make sure you're locked in. Hit that like button if this breakdown brought the manhwa to life for you. Drop a comment. Tell me your favorite moment or the next fight you want to see reimagined. Follow for more, because this isn't just a recap. This is a deep dive into what makes solo leveling hit different. And if you're feeling it, share this with someone who only watches the anime. Show them what they're missing. Because trust me, the shadows aren't done rising.